Well, again, good evening. It's good to see everyone. Today, I promised that I would talk to you about a technique supported by research in psychology that helps us develop new habits. And it has four main parts to it. And so I'm going to cover the four main parts. They're pretty simple and easy to understand and to implement. After we discuss them, then we'll go through the exercise of the four steps for meditation. So if we wanted to establish a meditation practice. And if you already have a meditation practice, then how you might want to enhance it, right? Or go to the next level. So if you want to look it up, the technique is called the WOP technique, W-O-O-P, WOP. So not whoop as in the Aggies, which is W-H-O-O-P. Take the H out, it's just W-O-O-P. And it stands for wish. I forgot what the second O was. The third one was obstacle. And then P is plan. So I don't, the WOP acronym is new to me. I've known of the technique for a while, but the acronym is new. And I just wanted to let y'all know what the acronym was so that if you wanted to look up something quick and easy, just Google WOP. So the way I learned it was, first, you sort of set your goal. What is it that you want to do? And the acronym, it's a wish. So what is it that you wish would happen? And be specific. The more specific the goal, the better. So if you just say, I wish I could meditate more, that's not specific enough. And so you could say, well, I wish I had a regular practice, meditation practice. And even then I would probably ask, if you were doing this exercise with me in a therapeutic setting, I would probably ask that you be even more specific. Well, what's regular? What does regular mean to you? Is that every day? Is it every other day? Is it at a certain time? So try to get specific with the goal. And don't worry at this moment, don't worry about whether the goal is too big or too small. Because what happens is, with this technique, you aren't expected to succeed the first time. Very rarely do you succeed the second, third, fourth, even fifth time. This is something you go through as what's called an iterative process. You try it out. When it fails, you come back, you do it again, and you figure out more. You get more information with each fail, and so it gets you closer and closer and closer to your goal. So the first part is your wish. What is it you would like to do? The next part is just imagine what it would feel like to actually accomplish that goal. What it would feel like. Oh, if I was actually meditating every day, I would probably have, let's see, if I did in the mornings, if I start off my mornings really calm and very peaceful, it could probably help me through the day, set a really good tone for me. Or let's say you wanted to do your meditation after lunch, a short little 10-15 minute reflection of your day. Oh, it'd be great to just sit and relax and just reflect on what things I did well and what things I can do better. So that's another different form of meditation. Or you can say, I want, it'd be nice to meditate right before I go to bed. It'll keep me off the phone, and it will help me fall asleep faster. And I'll be able to enter a deeper sleep faster as well. So I'll get a better rest. So you just imagine, and the more vivid you are in your imagination of what life would be like when you accomplish this goal, the better. So that's the second step. The third step is where you think of what are some of the potential obstacles. What are the things that might cause you to not follow through? Well, I'm really horrible if I don't have my coffee first in the morning. And so I need, I need my sleep. So there's an obstacle. I don't think I can wake up early in the morning. Or if you were doing a lunch one, well, I'm always getting asked to do extra work during my lunch hour. So I probably end up doing more work and not doing my meditation and not giving it the priority. Or if it's before bed, oh, I might fall asleep, whatever. So think of what are the obstacles. I may not be motivated. I may not feel like doing it. So what are the obstacles? And then in the final phase, you put it together. You make a plan that has your goal. It has the reminder of what it would feel like when you achieve the goal. But then you also plan for the obstacles. What are the things that I can do to try to help me overcome those obstacles? Well, I can try to go to bed a little earlier. That way I can wake up or make it easier to get my coffee and then just sit outside for a little bit with my coffee, meditating. Or maybe for lunch, I'll go to my car where no one can find me, and then I can just do my meditation there for 10, 15 minutes. Or if I do it right before bed, well, I try to go to bed a little early so that way I'm not super sleepy. And if I fall asleep, I fall asleep because it's going to help me rest better. So you kind of accept that, but maybe you'll do, for example, for the longest time, and I still do every once in a while, meditate lying down. And what I do is I'll put my hands in a lotus position on my chest and put a little pressure. And so if I fall asleep, the fingers start loosening up, and that's when I know I'm losing concentration. And so I come back again and refocus on keeping my hands in the lotus position. Okay. So that helps me maintain and stay awake. Oh, we have someone else coming in a little late. That's all right. So that's those are the 4 techniques, or the 4 steps. So the first step is your wish. What is it you would like to achieve with your meditation? And like I said, this can be anything. So this could also be losing weight. This could be exercising regularly. This could be reading a book every day, or studying a little bit every day to something new. So any goal, okay? And the more specific, the better. What it would feel like when you finally achieve that goal, and how good you'll feel about it. And what are the benefits of it? What are the obstacles for achieving that goal? And how are you going to overcome those obstacles? Right? And then all that is a part of the planning. And what happens is when you implement the plan, if you fail miserably, the goal was just too lofty. All right, so now you have information. All right, this goal was just way too big. I'm going to have to break it down to something smaller. Or let's say you almost got it. All right, and so then you only need to tweak the plan a little bit and you're good to go. Also, give yourself time to get into the routine. So be compassionate with yourself. If let's say your goal is I want to meditate, I want to eventually get to the point where I meditate every day for 15 minutes, then maybe your first plan, your first week, my goal is to at least set aside 5 minutes to meditate 4 times this week, right? Or twice this week. Whatever you feel is a achievable goal then, and that will work towards the ultimate goal of being able to meditate every day on a regular basis. Okay. Any questions on that? I mean, it's pretty straightforward. Any questions from anyone? Just unmute yourself if you have any questions. All right, so then what I would like you to do is, if the goal of what you want to achieve is you want to meditate regularly, let's go through the steps. So let's do the steps here together, and then if you have any questions that pop up along the way, great, and then we'll address them then afterwards. So the first step is define a goal for yourself. Define the how often you want to achieve this goal, any intensity of the goal. So intensity would be sort of how long do you want to meditate? How often do you want to meditate? Do you want to meditate multiple times during the day for shorter periods of time, or do you want one long meditation, one day, one time during the day? Every day, 3 days a week? Good. Now imagine, close your eyes and just imagine how good it would feel to achieve that goal. Imagine the benefits of achieving that goal. Here, if the goal is not making you happy, then we may need to redefine the goal. But as you think about it and what you would like to achieve, if it's making you happy, if you feel good about it or proud about achieving that goal, or you feel like it definitely would benefit your life, then that's a good sign that you have a good starting goal. If, on the other hand, you don't feel too good about it, or you feel, it's good to then use your mindfulness to figure out why. Do you feel forced to do this? Do you feel coerced? Do you feel like it's something you can't achieve? So find out why you did not have any good feelings. But if you did have good feelings, and it felt good to imagine this new you with this new goal, now we shift towards what are the potential obstacles? What are the things that have prevented me from achieving this goal? What are the things that could prevent me from achieving this goal? And take some time to think about the potential obstacles. All right. Usually you spend a little more time thinking of the obstacles, but for the sake of time, let's go ahead and move on to the next step. You've had this repeated enough to you now that you know the 4 steps and you're able to go through it again on your own. So now you're going to make a plan of how you're going to overcome those obstacles in order to get to your goal. If you found that you had way too many obstacles, there were just so many things in your way, then that might be a sign that you need to reevaluate the goal and maybe aim for a smaller goal, something that has fewer obstacles, something that's a little easier to achieve, that eliminates some of those obstacles, at least for now. You can always set a new goal later on once you've achieved this goal. With meditation, I often tell people, if all you can do is take one mindful breath every day, that's a good start. So that's the least that you can do. That's where you start. I know some individuals who set an hourly timer on their, on my cell phone, I have an app called Blip, I think. And every hour on the hour, it'll send, it's just a little bell, little chime, hardly noticeable, but it's noticeable enough for me that I know I need to stop, take a deep breath, be mindful of my surroundings, of what I'm doing. If I can stop, I stop and take that breath. If I can't stop, I try to be more mindful of what I'm doing. So be more present oriented with what I'm doing at the moment. So that can be very helpful. The time. So sometimes what I see a lot of people is they aim for too high, 30-minute meditation from the start. And while it's really, when you're motivated, those first few times you can achieve 30 minutes and maybe even 45 minutes. The problem is that it's harder to sustain that type of effort when you're just starting out. And so start with a time that seems more reasonable. If you're a busy mother, a busy teacher, a busy professional, if you're teaching during the day or whatever, then find a minute or 5 minutes during your day where you can just sit, breathe, and be present. Some other things that I have learned along the way, either just listening to other researchers or other individuals who study this stuff, paradoxically, telling people your goals actually works against you. And so a lot of people are told, tell someone your goals so that you're committed, all right? The problem is that when they did brain imaging of people who verbalized what they wanted to achieve, the part of the brain that rewards you for achieving the goal is active. So what happens is, in your mind, your brain is already rewarding you as if you had achieved the goal, just by telling someone else that that's what you want to do. But when you keep your goal a secret, it doesn't reward you until you actually achieve that award. So it's very paradoxical, but that's actually what we're seeing with brain imaging studies. Okay. Routine. In the US, there's a bit of, not always, not everywhere, not with everyone, but there is a little bit of a negative association with rituals. So whether it be ringing bells or bowing or kneeling, using incense, there seems to be a little bit of a little funny feeling about doing rituals. The thing is that having a ritual or a routine helps you get into the mindset of meditation a lot faster. And it doesn't have to be a religious routine. If the routine is, I'm going to set a cup of coffee or water or something in front of my computer, and that's the only time I set a cup in that spot, and that's my routine before I start meditating, there's your routine. So it has no religious significance. It has nothing really associated with meditation other than it's your routine. It's a little easier to do these routines when it is associated with meditation. And so bowing, prostrations, one of the benefits of doing those is that it is very much associated with images of spirituality. And so, and that humility, that humbling oneself, or showing respect to a teacher, those things can help you get into the right mindset. So if you already have routines or rituals that have sort of this respect and awe for something larger or greater than yourself, that can be very beneficial. One of the things that really activates that for me is a scenic, just a big picture of some scenic, whether it be the ocean, whether it be the view from the top of a mountain. I will picture some of my camping trips and some of those moments, those spots that I just found so beautiful and breathtaking. And so that already puts me in the right mindset of, oh, this is peaceful, this is beautiful. I feel so connected with nature, with the world around me. So those things, those memories help activate my brain and get me into the right mindset for meditation. Many of you here work with children. So another way of activating your mind and getting in the right mindset is bringing up the love you have for those children and focusing on how much you love these children, and just focus on the feeling of love and compassion and kindness that you have for these children. And just holding on to lightly, again, this is like a butterfly, you don't want to squash it. Holding lightly on to this feeling of love, of compassion, of wanting the best for them, and holding on to that and cultivating that, then cultivates what Buddhism calls bodhicitta, that loving kindness. And so it becomes part of your everyday mood. And we are seeing that this loving compassion meditation, this meditation that focuses on developing a sense of feeling of love and compassion, has some huge effects on the brain. Meditation in general has a huge effect on what's called the gray matter of the brain. The gray matter is the part of our brain that does a lot of the quote unquote thinking. And because of increased gray matter, we see better memory, better concentration, better reasoning. And so doing this on a regular basis actually will help your brain grow and actually has some physiological effects. We are seeing in different types of brain scans, fMRI, MRIs, and PET scans, these differences that persist. Even the part of your brain, I don't know if you all remember, were around when I talked about the default mode nucleus network, that part of the brain that is often associated with a sense of self. It's also the part of the brain that always is the monkey brain, is always going here and there and everywhere. Constant meditation quiets that network down significantly in individuals who meditate regularly. Those individuals who do not meditate regularly and have an overactive default mode nucleus or network tend to experience more anxiety, more stress. And so if you're an individual who wants to reduce some of the stress in your life, wants to quiet the mind down, then this meditation has physiological consequences to the brain that will help you feel better. All this to help you motivate you more, to think about more reasons why I want to establish a regular meditation practice and why I should overcome and motivate you to overcome those obstacles so that you can enjoy the benefits. What I'll do now is I'll just open it up to any questions you have about either the technique I talked about for changing habits, or anything that I've mentioned here today, or anything that might help you establish your routine. And so I will invite you all to unmute yourself. So I'm gonna, let me see what I'm gonna have to. All right. Good. So if you want to unmute yourself, you can. If you have any questions, now's the time. I did that good a job.
Yes, great job. Great job. It has been very helpful, and yes, you are right.
Bogdana is a fellow colleague, I guess, a psychologist also, and she and I met through a colleague, Nathan. I went to school with Nathan, and then was Nathan your supervisor or?
Supervisor, yes.
And so, and then
I still cannot call him colleague. It's still my supervisor.
That's a cultural thing. I had to unlearn that too from my culture.
Yes, no, it was a great presentation. It has been a great presentation. It's very important, and I really agree with not sharing the goals, because I notice by myself when I'm sharing, I'm postponing. When don't, I just more helpful. It's more, they are more achievable, more. And with meditation, what I found at the beginning very difficult for me, for my practice, it has been more difficult just to focus. Even 1 minute, it was difficult, but just be consistent, it has helped me. And finding the benefits, it was important. But working with my clients, they had very difficult times sitting with themselves, just clearing their mind even for 1 minute. And this is the ongoing struggle. But I recently listened to an interview with Dalai Lama, actually. And even if you start, as well as you said, with 30 seconds, it's still better than nothing, but to be consistent.
My biggest problem is motivation. I like how you're saying, like how you're like, well, just imagine all the benefits, and then my mind just goes straight to like, no, it doesn't really matter. It's just gonna happen. It's not gonna, and then I give up. Yeah, I mean, any more tips on motivation would be awesome. I'm sure I have to be more mindful and find out why I'm pushing these things away. But anything else would be helpful.
So one technique you can try is just to tell yourself, all right, I'm going to give myself 2 weeks. And so for these next 2 weeks, I'm going to try it out and I'm going to stay motivated. And after that, I don't have to do it. And so giving yourself a set time and make the goal easy so that what little motivation you do have is enough to get you started. So instead of having, and that both you and Bogdana got me thinking about this. If in your mind you have this expectation,
Right,
this idea of what meditation should be, right? That'll affect your goal. But if your reality doesn't fit that expectation, then all of a sudden your motivation just. So part of it can be what you're expecting you should be. Like if you're expecting to be floating 3 inches off the floor and being able to meditate for 45 minutes straight without any problems, your goal may be a little too lofty right now. Mm-hmm. So really, really, there is 30 seconds of meditation every day is better than nothing. Going with Bogdana shared with us what the Dalai Lama said. It's easier to do 30 seconds. If you just set a timer for 30 seconds, I could do 30 seconds every day for the next 2 weeks. At the end of the 2 weeks, just use your reality check. So, was this good for me? Were there enough benefits? And if not, then maybe either the goal, you didn't do enough, or maybe it's just not the right time right now.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny you say that because mine is like the opposite, where I always just think like, nah, nothing's ever really worth it. It's just like a lot of work. But so yeah, I mean, I guess keeping in mind actual reality of the expectations. Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. It's just really hard for myself to do, I guess.
So either go the opposite and set a really lofty goal for yourself, something that could be paradoxical. And so maybe really set yourself a goal of, I want to meditate for 30 minutes every day. And so that might work. Or going back to what I said, just make it super simple. All I'm going to do is I'm going to stop and take a deep breath at this time every day. Set an alarm on your phone, and you're already breathing anyway, so you're not wasting any time. It's not wasting any energy because you're already breathing anyway. You're just making the breath a little deeper this time. And then you set an alarm on your phone for 8 o'clock in the evening. And when the alarm goes off, that's it, go on with the rest of your day. So really, if the motivation is just not, make it super simple.
The good point that you made for the WOP method, I think it's recognizing the emotional kind of like investment in goals. I don't really like notice, or I don't really watch my emotions during like setting goals. But I think it's really, you know, you open my eyes because it's like, well, imagine how you feel if you complete it. And then, you know, so you're doing like, hey, this is going to be like the positive, but then also acknowledging the negative with like the obstacles or possible obstacles.
Like a star in front of your face.
So I have a question, comment.
Go ahead.
You were saying earlier about the studies were showing that once you tell someone your goal, your brain feels like it's already been rewarded, so you have a harder time reaching that goal, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what would you recommend doing if, like, let's say you already told someone, like, it's, you know, you've already said it, so is it harder to reach that goal now that you've already said it? Is there a way to program your brain back to
now that you know that this is the obstacle, that knowledge can help you, because it's like, all right, I told someone, I'm not going to tell anyone else. I have to be mindful that because I told that person, there was a spurt of reward in my brain,
mm-hmm.
and I can't let that defeat me. I can't let that become an obstacle. So
Okay.
it's not like a done deal where if you tell someone that's it, you're ruined and never in your life will you ever achieve this goal. It's just it's an unconscious thing. And now that you're mindful of it, you're able to then take the right steps. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah, no, it does make sense. It's just, you know, like we were talking about earlier, I have a sales background. And so all they want to talk about is goals, 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 you know? And so it's like, to tell me what your goals are, Min, for the month. Tell me what you want to achieve by the end of this, you know, quarter, by the end of the year, you know? And so it's like, no, I don't want to tell you because.
So as someone who, I work in sales, that is my job.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
When they ask me that question, I tell them what they want to hear. And then in my mind, I have my own personal goals.
Okay. Okay.
Those are secret.
All
Those
right.
are for myself. But the goals that my supervisor wants, I tell my supervisor what they want to hear.
Sure. Yeah.
And then hopefully the goals I tell the supervisor are close to what I want for my own personal self, so that there's no dissonance in me and no feeling like I'm lying.
Yeah.
And so usually I'm able to do something where I don't feel like I'm lying. And then that's how I get around that. Or sometimes I do tell my supervisor, sorry, the goals are just not going to be made this month. So that gets me in trouble sometimes with it. Sometimes it's just the goal and my own personal goal is just so different that telling the supervisor what they want would make me feel like I'm lying, and I try not to.
Okay. Well, thanks.
All right. Any last words? Any last questions, comments, insights, thoughts?
I think for me, I think getting all of my life goals to work together is difficult. It's a challenge because, like, I do want to improve my meditation practice, but then I have all these other goals. And so if I start focusing on one, then I tend to lose track of the others. So I think just being able to prioritize better or maybe find out how all my goals can work together somehow.
One thing I tell this to a lot of medical students. For some reason, I wish I were there at the temple so I could do the whole thing that I do. Like I bring a pitcher of water and some cups, and I say, in this pitcher of water, in psychology, we have this thing called psychological resources, and every day you wake up with a limited number of psychological resources, and you have to budget these psychological resources throughout your day. And so if you pour a little bit here in stress, and a little bit here in studies, a little bit here in friends and drinking, and a little bit here, whatever, I have all these cups full of different activities, and then swish around the pitcher and there's hardly any water left. And that's how much water, how much psychological resources you have for the things that you want to do. And so just be mindful that you are not Wonder Woman. At least I don't think you are. So forgive me if you are. Oh, he says yes. Be mindful of your human limitations, that you only have a certain amount of psychological resources. So all of these life goals require a certain amount of psychological resources. And if you don't have enough for everything, break it down into smaller goals. It's amazing how just little chunks. Think of any time in your past when you've taken a humongous goal and you've just broken down into little chunks, and you were surprised at how at the end you were able to achieve it. All right. College, school, that you're looking at, you know, if you finish high school, you're looking at the 13 years of schooling. And so if you thought about it in terms of, I want to get my high school diploma, and you just had this, oh my God, how am I going to learn all of this math, all of this English, all of this social studies and science and AP, this and that, is too overwhelming. But, you know, fortunately, we have a system that breaks it down into smaller goals, so small that we have hours dedicated to different subjects every day.
That's an excellent point.
So similar to that, think of all your life goals and remember that you have your whole life to achieve these goals. And that whole life, on average, is going to be until you're in your mid to late 70s, maybe even 80s. And so chances are good you have a lot of time to achieve these goals. So break it down now into smaller chunks that are achievable. Work and chip away at these goals, and what you'll find is that you'll have time for the smaller goals, and you'll get closer and closer to the ultimate goals. The other effect of not doing that is the overwhelming feeling. The feeling there's so much to do leads to procrastination. And so oftentimes, one of the things that I find in individuals who procrastinate is that they are just overwhelmed. They don't know where to start. There's just so much to do, and I don't know where to begin. And so often, the idea is to just break it down into smaller chunks. A little side note, a bonus for today before we go. For procrastination, interesting enough, what the research is showing is the best method to work against procrastination is to do nothing. If you are procrastinating, sit at your desk, sit wherever, and for 15 minutes, do nothing. Don't even play on your phone. Don't do any games. Don't do any Facebook or social media. Don't check your emails. For 15 minutes, do nothing. And eventually, after a while, your brain starts to sort of like plan on its own. And the act of planning, it starts breaking it down into steps. And because those smaller steps are more manageable than the overwhelming goal, when the 15 minutes are up, it's easier to get started because you sort of have a small goal to start with. But what do? We reach for our phone, we check Facebook or social media, we play Angry Birds, we go watch Netflix. And so because we're already distracting our mind with something else, the procrastination continues. So do nothing for 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Heck, meditate for those 15 minutes. Since we're talking about meditation. All right, everyone, it's 8 o'clock. Thank you very much for joining me here today. We will have we'll have a meeting next week, and then the last Tuesday this month we'll skip. So next week, yes, we'll have another meeting next week. I don't know on what. So if y'all have any ideas on what you would like to, a topic you'd like to hear about, let me know. Your homework is to use the method. Yeah, use the method today for any habit, preferably meditation. But if you're more motivated to practice this technique with another goal, use that. That's a great way to practice. So we'll find what you're most motivated to change right now and use this method. And remember that when you don't achieve the goal the first time, you're supposed to learn from it so that you can go through the process again and planning next time.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate. It's very helpful. And you mentioned at a certain point one or two books, and I don't remember the name. If you don't mind just sending.
Sure. And actually what I'll do is I'm going to type the names in the chat. So anyone who wants to access the chat.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
This is a book that if you just look up this title, Tree of Enlightenment PDF, on Google, and you will find the free PDF online. And it goes from the basic history of Buddhism, when it started with the meeting of the two cultures from the Indus Valley, all the way to no self and interconnectedness. So it's a really good Buddhism 101 book. If you want to focus specifically on mindfulness, this is another book. And it's also, you can do Mindfulness in Plain English PDF and Google that, and it's a free book.